Fulani never envisaged that the likes of Nnamdi Kanu will ever emerge. They never in a million years. They thought that you can bribe anybody. You can buy anybody. Offer him a jet, give him money, tell him, promise him good life with his family. Anywhere he wants. Promise him a house, mansion, oil well, anything he wants. Give him his money. After all, you can buy any woman, you can buy them. They are very weak. You can buy all of them. They never knew who we were. That I come from a line, I wouldn't call it royal, a line of nobility, where you have noble men that do not sell their conscience.
Ezi onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, Chukwu okike abịa ma bụ onye anyị na-efe na-agọzi aha nsọ ya, onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-achị, onye mmụọ na mmadụ na-erubere isi, onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ ọka aka. Ụbọchị ene ka anyị na-etuga eze ebube dị ngọzi, mmalite na ọgwụgwụ. Ndị Igbo wee tụọ oge ebighị ebi, onye nwe m, ụmụ gị wee gbakọọ n'ụwa niile iwe na ozi ọma nke gị onwe gị n'ezi ha site n'ọnụ mmadụ dị ndụ na nke ebere dị ngọzi. Anyị wee na-asị na onwe ihe ọbụla nke anyị onwe anyị bụ n'ihi na ọ bụ anakpa ahụ sọsọ ka mmadụ dị ndụ bụ. Ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ, maka na okwu nsọ gị na-adịgị ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. N'ihi na okwu gị niile ga-abịarịrị na mmezu. Ọ bịa mere Biafra ga-eji wee bịa na mgbe nke anyị. Anyị wee na-akpọkụ wee na-arịọ gị na-asị, lekwa ude nke anyị na-asụ n'akwa nke anyị na-ebe ka o metụta gị n'obi. Onye nwe m na Chineke nna nke igwe, biko dịka isi wee napụta ụmụ gị n'ọbụ n'Ijipt gotu wee wezuga ụmụ gị bụ ndị Biafra mgbe ekwensu bụ zuu nke mmadụ dị ndụ kere. Anyị wee na-aja gị mma, na-asị gị n'ime ọnọdụ anyị anyị ga-ekele ha nsọ gị, wee nye gị nsọpụrụ n'ụtụ na-eji ama mgbe niile. N'ihi na anyị enweghị chi ọzọ ebezuga gị, anyị nwe anyị anaghị efe arụsị. Ọbịa mere iji wee na-agọzi nsọmụkwụ anyị niile. Ọbịa mere IPOB ji wee gbaa mgbọrọgwụ n'ụwa niile. Anyị anaghị atụ egwu mmadụ dị ndụ. Anyị wee na-eto gị eze ebube dị ngọzi, sị gị biko gbatara anyị ọsọ enyemaka. Ọ bụ naanị gị bụ onye anyị refe nwanyị akpụ isi ala nye ka i wee napụta ndị gị n'ọbụ nke ekwensu. Anyị wee na-enye gị ofe na nsọpụrụ na ija mma, na-asị lekwa ka ndị iro anyị niile kakasị wee baa ha ọnụ, ha wee daa hapụghị ikunu ọzọ. Obodo ekwensu bụ zu ala nwekwa n'ihi eze ebube dị ngọzi. Anya ọnwa anyị bụ ụmụ gị wee na-akpọkwa ha nsọ gị, na-asị na enweghị chi ọzọ egwezuga gị. Anyị wee na-aja gị mma wee na-eto gị, na-asị onye kere ihe niile kere eke mana onye kere na n'otuto niile na nsọpụrụ niile na ịja mma niile site n'ebighị ebi mara onye bụ ka a na-arịọ gị. Ise.
Thank you very much. Do you see this picture on my screen? Look at that picture on my screen. This is a very famous picture now. A very famous picture. This guy, everyone is calling a hero, a hero, a hero. Of course, he's a hero. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. He's a hero. And then some of these hardliners are now trying to use him to change the narrative. Look at this one. He said, a Muslim risks his life to save Jews. This is Islam. A Muslim risks his life to save Jews. This is Islam. But meanwhile, this is trying to change the narrative. The reality in Islam is that the Jews should be go after the Jews and annihilate them. That's why you see this finger raised up here. If you remember, we have always talked about this finger. This finger means Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. That's the meaning of this finger that this man is raising on his sick bed. This man took some shots, and then from the terrorists. Now, it happens that he may not be the shooter, but he saved lives on that day. But it doesn't change the fact that Muslims, Islamic terrorists, took the lives of over 15 Jewish people that were peacefully and harmlessly celebrating Hanukkah. Now, what you will see on social media are very self-centered, bigoted, evil, satanic, malicious Muslims on social media with no recognition of the fact that extreme Islamists who believe in their teaching went after the lives of Jewish people, took their lives in broad daylight. for no just reason, just because they are Jews, took their lives. They are not considering that. The only thing you will see is that, hey, look at the person that sent this situation. He's a Muslim. He's a Muslim. This is the reality of Muslim. But the reality of that day was that the lives of Jewish people were murdered. And it will continue because there are threats for Jewish people all over the world. It's the same thing they do all over the world. These fanatics, these extremists, these evil people, you don't see them criticizing this evil. Basically, you just see them saying, you look at it now, look at the real picture of Moses. I saw one video, I felt like hitting the guy on his mouth and telling him, keep quiet. How can you be so insensitive? It is just because you don't care. You just don't care that Jewish people lost their lives. What the guy was saying, I saw that video. I wanted to save it or share it, but I said, people may not understand what took place here. I will play you a video today that will show you that people are thinking like me. People are thinking and are smart and understand the game these people play. They are playing the same game in Nigeria. When we talk about Christian genocide, you will not see them talking about the number of Christians that have lost their lives, including Muslims that have lost their lives, because it is genocide, whether it is Muslims or Christians and Muslims or both of them together, it is genocide. Condemn the genocide. They would condemn the genocide. They will be telling you, no, there's no Christian genocide. Muslims also are being killed. You see the game they are playing? They are just trying to make you see that there is a sanctity of Islam. It is the sanctity of Islam. Muslims are also being killed. They are telling you that there are mass burial of people, Christians. And then you're saying, hey, Muslims are being killed. You say you are lying. You are lying. You don't see those that come out the way it is to condemn this terrorist attack. Today now they are trying to make a hero from this man, which already the Jewish people, the Prime Minister of Israel, already told the whole world that this man is a hero. But it doesn't change the fact that Islamic terrorists who are not giving up and who would want to continue to unalive Jewish people and Christians committed this havoc. If this man did not come to save the day that day, they would have taken more lives, of course. The fact that he took that step doesn't mean that these people will not plan to do it another day if actions are not taken. Just as it is right now, the Australian government are not willing, just like Nigeria government, to take action against extremists. I saw a news from the defense minister of Australia. He said they will not go hard on clerics who are teaching hate against the Jewish people. That they will use wisdom and they use whatever language you use to show you that with this particular guy and what they are trying to do is to change the narrative, to cancel out the fact that Muslim terrorists actually are going after Jewish people. Let me bring you the video that concerns me. Now, you see this man, he's right there in his recovery bed, signaling Allahu Akbar. Do you understand? Posing with that. To him, we will use this one now to cover up this evil that these people have done. Anyway, even if that is not what he meant, but I just want you to know that changing the narrative and trying to show you that they don't even have compassion at all. They don't care. No compassion. It is the same everywhere. I will play you two videos that will make you understand. Let me first of all play the first video that actually brings out the true picture of what I'm trying to tell you this afternoon. Listen to this young man and then you will understand. Let's listen. This is the video.
From large part.
Listen very attentively. My nose is closing. I will go and take medication for my nose, but let's play this video first.
15 Jews were murdered at a Hanukkah celebration, and almost immediately the response from large parts of the Muslim and the progressive and leftist world was not grief, it was not clarity, and it was not outrage, it was identity protection. Not all Muslims. Look, a Muslim stopped one of the attackers. Careful, don't generalize all Muslims. The reaction wasn't compassion for the victims, it was moral narcissism produced by their own identity politics. Modern progressivism has trained people to see the world not in terms of truth and responsibility, but in terms of protected identities and forbidden critiques of those identities, and everything is filtered through a hierarchy of groups that must be defended at all costs. So when terrorism happens, the first instinct isn't to name it, isn't to say, oh my gosh, who were the victims? It's to ask, which identity committed this, and which identity might feel threatened by this conversation. And in this...
Are you seeing it? They are not asking, what kind of evil is this? They are looking for the identity, which identity? You know, they are looking for this man is the one that set the situation. He's a Muslim, and then because of that, this is the real Islamic man. This is real Muslim. Those people that did that thing, they are not Muslim. And you check all the evil going on, all the terrorist attack going on, are committed by Muslims. I'll start it from the top again because I need to analyze a little bit of this.
15 Jews were murdered at a Hanukkah celebration, and almost immediately the response from large parts of the Muslim and the progressive and leftist world was not grief, it was not clarity, and it was not outrage, it was identity protection. Not all Muslims. Look, a Muslim stopped one of the attackers. Careful, don't generalize all Muslims. The reaction wasn't compassion for the victims, it was moral narcissism produced by their own identity politics. Modern progressivism has trained people to see the world not in terms of truth and responsibility, but in terms of protected identities and forbidden critiques of those identities, and everything is filtered through a hierarchy of groups that must be defended at all costs. So when terrorism happens, the first instinct isn't to name it, isn't to say, oh my gosh, who were the victims? It's to ask, which identity committed this, and which identity might feel threatened by this conversation. And in this case, that identity is Islam. Not Muslims as individual people, but Islam as a protected category that is shielded from scrutiny by progressive ideology and Muslims themselves. So instead of saying the truth and saying Islamist extremism murdered Jews, the conversation then becomes, quick, make sure nobody criticizes Islam. There is nothing wrong with not wanting entire groups of people that adhere to certain religions being generalized based off of the actions of a few, but this isn't empathy. That is ideological damage control. What these people understand but refuse to acknowledge is that no one serious is accusing all Muslims of being terrorists, and that accusation that they believe this is the case exists almost entirely to justify avoiding the real conversation. If you can't understand that the real issue is Islamist extremism, then you're lost. But progressive identity politics cannot separate people from ideas. They don't treat Islam as a belief system with doctrines, with texts, and with political consequences in the real world. They treat it as a racialized minority identity. They treat Islam as a race. And once you frame it that way, the criticisms of it become taboo. No, you're not allowed to do that. You're a bigot. And then that leads to the death of the truth, because once criticism becomes taboo and, oh no, you're not allowed to do that, then truth dies. That's why the Muslim man who intervened, who disarmed one of the terrorists, who is a hero, gets weaponized instead of simply being honored, because...
Gets weaponized instead of being honored. They have weaponized that man now, using him as a weapon. Instead of being honored, they're not honoring him. They're using him as a weapon. I see you, my brother. Thank you. I did not forget you. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you so very much. This Christmas, I beg, my brother. You say you go come Italy, and they wait for you. Thank you so much. You see, they're now weaponizing that guy. They're using him. I saw one Muslim guy. He said, with all these things that happened, if you remember, if you forget everything, remember one thing. It was a Muslim man. It was a Muslim man that stopped it. If you remember another thing, one thing you must not forget. One thing you must not forget is that one Muslim man did this salvation. Can you imagine? This is people that are not smart who say, that's true. He's a Muslim man after all. Why are they condemning Islam? What? They are changing the narrative. That is what they do. That is what they do. Distracting you from the real thing. So because of that, don't condemn Islam. The issue is not Islam. These people that are doing this thing, they are not Muslims. They are not Muslims. Who are they? Who are they? You see, condemn. If you want to condemn that, if we call it Islamic terrorism, just like Donald Trump is actually facing it and saying, calling it what it is, then you are not ready yet. You are trying to kill the truth. And that's what people as smart as us will never do. You're changing the narrative. We never distract us. We know the game you people are playing. You are playing it in Nigeria, everywhere. You are playing it all over the world. You are playing it in UK. You are playing it with this globalized system of the world, trying to stop Donald J. Trump. You can never succeed over us. We know your game plan. We know your game plan. So listen to this young man. Very smart analysis. Smart, man.
Don't treat Islam as a belief system with doctrines, with texts, and with political consequences in the real world. They treat it as a racialized minority identity. They treat Islam as a race. And once you frame it that way, the criticisms of it become taboo. No, you're not allowed to do that. You're a bigot. And then that leads to the death of the truth, because once criticism becomes taboo and, oh no, you're not allowed to do that, then truth dies. That's why the Muslim man who intervened, who disarmed one of the terrorists, who is a hero, gets weaponized instead of simply being honored because he was a Muslim, or it's being reported that he was a Muslim. There's also a lot of reports that he was a Lebanese Christian, but I don't know and I don't care. When you have to weaponize the identity of one singular man who stopped the terrorists, then you are missing the larger problem. And the same people who are doing this, who are shifting the attention away from the actual victims and the terrorists, and who are hyperfixating on the hero, and using that man's identity to run away from any criticisms that they could actually make, are the same people who, if a Jewish person went and slaughtered a bunch of Arabs or Muslims and was taken out by another Jew, would not defend Judaism, would not defend...
Thank you. If, for example, a Jewish person now went to do this thing that these Muslim people did, and another Jewish person takes the person out and stops the Jewish person, you will never see them with this narrative of Jewish people. It's not. They will cover it up. They will condemn Jewish. But now they want to use this man as a weapon.
Zionists would not defend Jews. This is a phenomenon that we only tend to see with Islam, and I don't know why.
I don't know why either. Now, listen to another shameless, bigoted
15 Jews.
Islamic man. I want to bring that message. I will have another video to play, but I won't have time to play that one. Listen to this man. Listen to this man here. These are the people that are trying to change the narrative. Yes, sir. Listen to him. He said it's false flag. Listen to him. Listen.
In looking at the shooting in Australia, we always have to ask ourselves, who benefits? I can tell you that it's showing the Muslim world. They're trying so hard to push this Muslim extremist narrative when the one hero that jumped on the shooter with no regards for his personal safety was in fact a Muslim man named Ahmed. Anyways, just after the shooting happened, as if it was time, you got the Israel Prime Minister blaming Iran to give himself an excuse to complete his carnage of the Middle East.
You see the reason why that brother came out to analyze that in that they are weaponizing that man. Now, every one of them are going to be using the picture of that man to try to make you forget that the people that did this thing, who planned this execution of Jewish people on broad daylight on a Hanukkah celebration day, they were Islamic terrorists. And the fact that one man saved the situation, the man that took praises from the Prime Minister of Israel while addressing this Holocaust and evil massacre, they are trying to change it. Hey, he's blaming Netanyahu. He's trying to blame Iran, as if Iran is not equipping terrorists all over the world, as if Syria is not equipping terrorists all over the world. You understand? Let me take it from the top again, so you understand how they are trying to change the narrative.
In looking at the shooting in Australia, we always have to ask ourselves, who benefits? I can tell you that it's showing the Muslim world. They're trying so hard to push this Muslim extremist narrative when the...
He said they are trying to push Muslim extremist narrative. Now, it is we now that are reporting the truth that are pushing the Muslim extremist narrative. So he's trying to tell you that there is no Muslim extremist narrative. It is now a narrative, Muslim extremism, which we all know to be the reality. This shameless evil is now saying that it is a narrative we are trying to push, Muslim extremism. Now, if these two guys who were shooting are not Muslim extremists, what are they? What are they? You see how they are trying to change it? These people are bigoted. Now, to put another record straight here. Did you know that the National Security Advisor of Nigeria, Nihu Ribadu, did you guys hear the latest expose that he was arming Miyetti Allah, a terrorist organization by world recognition? Terrorist organization, the National Security Advisor in Nigeria has been exposed to be arming Miyetti Allah. The press is not pushing and exposing it. And the Ribadu, New Ribadu, is still in that office as National Security Advisor. What will you be advising when you are arming terrorists and you are the National Security Advisor? You see, you don't even have security again in Nigeria. No security in Nigeria. You are all doomed. Do you know that the Minister of State for Defense is a non-terrorist sympathizer? Did you know? Man, this noise, why this guy choose to... Did you know? Okay, so let me play this very quickly. Listen to him. It's not a narrative. God forbid these evil people.
In looking at the shooting in Australia, we always have to ask ourselves, who benefits? I can tell you that to train the Muslim world, they're trying so hard to push this Muslim extremist narrative when the one hero that jumped on the shooter with no regards for his personal safety was in fact a Muslim man named Ahmed. Anyways, just after the shooting happened, as if it was time, you got the Israel Prime Minister blaming Iran to give himself an excuse to complete his carnage of the...
Do you know that none of them acknowledge the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu do you know that none of them, while making this narrative, none of them acknowledge the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, actually praised the man and called him a hero? The Prime Minister of Israel praised this Muslim man, acknowledging he's a Muslim man and calling him a hero. They will never mention it, but rather they want to push their ugly and evil narrative. These people, you just see them playing it in Nigeria. It is the same thing worldwide.
Anyways, just after the shooting happened, as if it was time, you got the Israel Prime Minister blaming Iran to give himself an excuse to complete his carnage of the Middle East. This guy is now asking for harsher sanctions against anti-Semitism while still conducting...
No, you see, he says he's asking for harsher sanctions against anti-Semitism. Shouldn't there be a harsher sanctions against anti-Semitism? No, for these people, no, don't talk about anti-Semitism. After all, a Muslim man saved the day. Why will you call it anti-Semitism? Just imagine these godless people.
Sanctions against anti-Semitism while still conducting a genocide that we're all witnessing in high definition. It's pretty unreal if you think about it. Now let's go back in time for a second and look at 9/11. Do you think the Muslim world benefited from these attacks? The whole place is torn apart. Even the Israeli Prime Minister said that they benefited the most from 9/11. And what do we get? More surveillance, more division, and more troubles at the airport.
Now, they don't want surveillance. They don't want it. Now say, the surveillance that everyone is under surveillance in this world. Terrorists everywhere under the countries where you are running to hide and do your evil. They are putting everyone under surveillance, not only you, but they don't want it because they want to carry out their carnage, their destruction of terrorism. They want to carry it out.
And the only people who benefit from terror attacks are the demonic elite that plans them and couldn't give a damn about race or religion. They use race and religion to keep us divided while slowly putting us into this AI surveillance system. I'm sorry, but we're not falling for this one.
You are a fool because we are not falling for your propaganda. You're a big fool because we know how you play, we know how you roll. We're not falling for your evil propaganda. We're not. There are many other videos I should have played, but time will fail me. Let's leave it there for now until, you need to listen to this son of Hamas. Do you know that this guy is the son of Hamas? This guy is the son of Hamas. I want you to just go listen to him. Go on my Twitter handle and watch this video. Watch the video. I shared it on my Twitter handle and hear what he said about Hamas and about these terrorists. Just go watch it. And then you can come back later and thank me. Anyway, I'll leave it there because, okay, look at a Muslim man who said something here. I will close with this. I will close with this because it's just 1 minute. 1-minute video, and I'll close with this. Listen to this, and then I'll see you later in my next video.
If anyone should be talking on this situation, it's me. I am an Australian-born Muslim with a Turkish background, and I converted to Christianity April of last year. I grew up around Muslims, so I know exactly what Islam teaches, how Muslims think, and what they want to do in Australia. My brother right here were one of the people that were getting called extreme, but he was not extreme. He was simply following the Quran and Sunnah, and the moderate Muslims that were judging my brother were not following the Quran or Sunnah. They wouldn't even pick up the Quran. So what's my point here? My point is there's no such thing as extreme Islam. It's either you follow the Quran and Sunnah or you don't. And as for me, I found myself not being able to defend the Quran and Sunnah anymore. I had to face the hard truth that the reality is Islam is not peaceful, and Muhammad, the leader of Islam, was definitely not a peaceful man either. I found my peace through the Son of God who came to die for me. His name is Jesus Christ. If anyone should be talking on this situation, it's me. I am an Australian-born Muslim with a Turkish background, and I converted to Christianity April of last year. I grew up around Muslims, so I know exactly what Islam teaches, how Muslims think, and what they want to do in Australia. My brother right here were one of the people that were getting called extreme, but he was not extreme. He was simply following the Quran and Sunnah, and the moderate Muslims that were judging my brother were not following the Quran or Sunnah. They wouldn't even pick up the Quran. So what's my point here? My point is there's no such thing as extreme Islam. It's either you follow the Quran and Sunnah or you don't. And as for me, I found myself not being able to defend the Quran and Sunnah anymore. I had to face the hard truth that the reality is Islam is not peaceful, and Muhammad, the leader of Islam, was definitely not a peaceful man either. I found my peace through the Son of God who came to die for me. His name is Jesus Christ.